Welcome to Crypto Banter, the most interesting channel in all the interwebs. My name is Ran, and every day I teach you how to make real money in crypto. So if you like real money in crypto, smash the like button, smash the subscribe button. Welcome back, guys. Welcome to Crypto Banter. I see we are having a slight recovery. I know if Sheldon was here, he would say that the shoulder, the other shoulder is forming on the head and shoulders, and this thing is going to go all the way up. But the main thing is that as the price of Bitcoin started coming down today, everyone started to panic and the altcoins went down. That kind of shows us where the market is. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Are we in a bull market, in a bear market? Should we be panicking just yet? Where are we in the market cycle? What is going on? That's what we're going to be talking about today. And today is a big show because, you know, Fridays are all about banter. Fred, when I say that, you put the tile up. Well done, boy. Let's try that again. Fridays are all about banter. On Fridays, we banter. And we banter with the best. Today, we've got an amazing banter for you guys. We have George. And then we have George. And then we have George. And then we have George. George and George. Because we are all George. So, George, welcome, my friend.
Hey, it's gonna be a lively show with Georges.
We're all George. It's only Georges. George, I noticed that you started streaming interviews. Did you get a new software, and have you worked out how to use it? Because it looks amazing.
Well, thank you. I mean, everyone seems to be using the same software. I'm like, I should give it a try, and it works. So,
did you go into StreamYard?
Yeah.
I think it's great, amazing. Elio, welcome, my friend. KC, welcome. How are you guys?
Good.
Everyone looks so happy. Everyone looks so happy. Are we all bullish? Are we all like super bulls? Is that what's going on here?
We're all numb right now, you know. We're just riding the wave.
We're comfortably numb.
Amazing. Winston, good morning, man.
Hey guys, how we doing?
Mr. Biz, welcome, my friend. The spice of crypto banter.
What's going on, guys? It's going to be another lit show today.
It's going to be another lit show today. You know why I think it's going to be another lit show today? Because I pulled up this amazing slide for you. This is the slide that shows that as at the 1st of April, the highest held asset by all the institutions in all the interwebs was Polkadot, bro. What do you think?
That's the way it should be. Because when Raul Paul was on your show yesterday, he said, what did he say? I don't know about any of these altcoins, but I know that Polkadot has a lot of big backers or big money backing it, right? And he specifically decided to single out Polkadot for a reason.
Agree. He spoke about Polkadot, but he also spoke about Doge. So does that mean that he's putting Doge in the same bucket as I
hope Polkadot pumps like Doge. I'll take it.
Doge has bigger backers. Polkadot doesn't have Elon, so
welcome,
this is true.
First of all, if you haven't been here for Banter Friday, welcome. I know you guys have all been here, but to the viewers, if you haven't been here to a Banter Friday, Fridays are when we banter. So if you're new to the channel, subscribe to the channel. We do have over 300,000 subscribers. We are really trying to catch up to Elio because we've got to catch up to Elio. It's going to be tough. And, you know, Elio didn't have the banter bags. But we are trying to catch up to Elio. We know we'll never catch up to George because George is just a fucking content-making machine. Okay, the guy just churns out content. But subscribe to our channel, like this content, because that's what gets the YouTube algorithm to tell everybody this is the best show in the whole interwebs, the most profitable show in the whole interwebs. And it is. I mean, even George says it. Cool. So
I don't think I said that, but okay. Is it really going to go to the moon?
You did say that.
It's just insane right now.
Alrighty, so guys, I think let's address the elephant in the room. And the elephant in the room today is the number of subscribers that we have on YouTube. No, the elephant in the room today is this chart, the Bitcoin chart. We had a small hiccup in the Bitcoin chart, and everybody became bearish. Altcoins had like this major sell-off. I actually looked at my alts and I thought, when I look at my portfolio, I don't actually look at Bitcoin. I look at all the alts. And today I looked at the alts. I thought, shit, Bitcoin must be at like 31,000. I looked at Bitcoin. Bitcoin's like 36,000. I'm like, what is going on here? But it kind of shows that everybody in the market is very nervous. Should they be nervous?
Yes.
Why do you say that, Winston?
We're just seeing the progress of a low grind down at the moment. So I think it will take a fair bit of confidence in the market to get some liquidity back into those alts. And in the short term, people are looking for reasons for things to go down rather than up. So I think until we break that sort of trend, you know, you said it on a tweet yourself. What is it? It's short-term bearish, long-term bullish, right?
Well, I said that because the party line now, when you speak to people, because they can't admit that they're bearish, because, you know, we can't admit that we're going into a bear market. No one would ever do that because you would lose a whole lot of followers. You'd get a whole lot of negative tweets. No one would watch your videos anymore. So the party line now amongst everybody is we're short-term bearish, but long-term very bullish. That's like the party line right now.
Well, look, I think it's a pretty fair line in general. I mean, like I assume we all sort of believe that the fundamentals are still there, and this is some short-term pain for some long-term gain. So, I mean, you know, I would say that's fair from my perspective at least. And you can see with the avatar that I've picked today, it's representative of that.
You pick your avatars really fucking well. Elias, you're smiling, bro. Are you as negative as your friend Winston?
You know, the fundamentals, as you say, keep going in one direction. I personally was expecting more downside action, I guess. Maybe that was the change in mentality is I didn't think. I'm trying to figure out which George I am right now. But I didn't actually think we would turn on all the way up into the upside very quickly. In fact, I was expecting, as Winston said, a sort of a grinding effect on the market that would hopefully reset really the emotional tone. If we just bounce right back up and to the right, we haven't really shaken anybody out. I started doing some polls. I said, you know, did you panic sell? You know, 80-90% of people on, you know, 10,000 responses or whatever saying they held, right? And so, and I said, if you're new to the market in 2021, did you sell? So I don't think a lot of people have been fully shaken out yet. I don't think there's been a total reset yet. And I think if you're looking for an extending of the cycle, you need to see some of those things happen. I just don't think there's been a change so dramatic, even though people are salty and people are mad. I don't think we've seen enough yet for this to be a full reset. And so I was expecting at least one or two more sweeps down on the lows, a few more dreams crushed before we could actually see some bullishness. And I guess that's why I'm not really that shaken up right now. But I do, honestly, I have been looking at some of these altcoin charts, and it's hard for me not to ape in completely because I really like some of these charts, and there are so many coins that were super overheated that look like they would be really phenomenal entries right now. So those are the kinds of projects that I'm going to wait until I get some more confirmation, but I'm sure a lot of these alts will lag behind Bitcoin and the main trends here. So I think once we do get some bullish confirmation above 42, I think I'll be looking for some really juicy entries.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to talk to you about that list because I've got my own list and we can kind of compare lists. George, you thought or predicted, mentioned that you thought Bitcoin was going to go to $50,000. Is it end of next week, on Friday next week?
No, I got to say, I was following the max paying price on options, and it didn't pan out this time. Bitcoin was just a little bit too low. Couldn't break above, I think, 41 yesterday or something like that. But let me just address something. It seems like everyone is like bearish in this channel right now, like including you, Rand.
I'm not bearish at all. Bearish at all. I'm fucking bullish as hell. I'm buying like a mofo. I'm filling up.
I mean, even short term. I mean, you know, you mentioned about altcoins kind of selling off today, but I'm looking at CMC. The total global market cap went down 8.42%. That's less than Bitcoin today. So altcoins, in fact, actually sold off less in total than Bitcoin today. So I don't think retail investors' confidence, even though it is lower than before, I don't think it's that low. I think people are recognizing this is still a good buying opportunity. And if you go back, you know, I have this other chart. You go back 3 months, most altcoins are still way, 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 way in the green. So it's not like we reset to like negative territory. This is just going back 3 months, not even like 6 months or so. So I think people need to realize that, you know, the expectation that Bitcoin and altcoins will just go up forever that's not realistic. There will be periods where it goes sideways or maybe down a little bit, but we're nowhere near a bear market at this point.
Yeah, Ilya, you said something, and I want to bring it to Casey next. But Ilya, you said something. You said, "I'm scared." You don't think all the retail hands have been shaken out, and you think that a few more dreams may need to be crushed. But why? I mean, why? Why do we need people to get crushed? It's a correction. Not everybody needs to be crushed in a correction. I guess in a bear market, everybody needs to be crushed. But in a correction, we were over leveraged. We're not over leveraged anymore. People are really nervous, but people are cautiously getting back into the market. For me, the market structure should, theoretically, with everything else being equal, the market structure should be going up.
Yeah, I think what is the core fundamental analysis tool for crypto beyond, the sort of, non-inflationary or deflationary nature of Bitcoin and tokenomics is the emotional sentiment of the market. If you look back at 2018, Joe Lubin had a great tweet saying, look, 3,000 is the bottom. The reason why it's the bottom is because we've reached the max pain, the maximum negative sentiment, the maximum bearish, negative hatred towards this market. And that means we can't go lower. And crypto does not base its valuations off of dollars and cents, off of profits and margins and any kind of PE ratios that you see in normal markets. It's purely an emotional market driven upon FOMO and FUD and these types of things. And so emotional sentiment resetting is the most healthy thing for the market. And when it gets out of control, as we saw with Dogcoin Mania, that's when things need to cool down. So that's why I think emotional and sentiment analysis is probably the most important thing to keep track of. And that's why dreams getting crushed is actually really bullish historically for the market.
Casey, have your dreams been crushed?
No, absolutely not. I do have an interesting, I think, narrative that I'm kind of looking at. So we do have big institutional investors in the space. And traditionally in the past, we usually, retail investors, speculative investors. Now we have a lot of money in control of people, or being in control of, large entities that we like to call them smart money, dumb money. I don't really like to say that, because at the end of the day, we have blockchain technology that we want to give people access to this market that traditionally have not had any access. So at the end of the day, we have to get used to, it's kind of unreasonable to expect everyone to be financially literate, traditionally financially illiterate, going forward into, this new technology that will be global and take over the world. So traditional investors know, different things that retail investors know. I look at the macros. I don't know if you guys look at the treasuries and the cash, and this repo market thing is, I think, going to implode. I'm not sure when. And when it does, we'll have a crash. Crypto will go with it. But at the end of the day, where are these investors going to go? They're going to go into crypto. So
I must say, I've been watching this repo story, and I haven't spoken about it on the channel because it's quite complicated in terms of how it works.
Exactly,
in terms of the banks are sitting with too much money at the moment. The Fed is kind of pushing them to take money. They can't take the money anymore, which means the Fed is printing money and the banks can't use the money because there's so many restrictions in terms of using the money. And eventually, the only solution for that is either the Fed starts to give away more money directly to people, which it does have a pipe to do, or there's got to be a massive crash. If that massive crash comes for that reason, everything's going to come down, but then immediately everything's going to drive into Bitcoin. There's going to be Bitcoin and gold because there's going to be nowhere else to go.
Yeah, and in fact, the banks they're trying to give money to hedge funds, financial institutions, and they don't want the money. They're like, hey, I'm good. I don't need any more money. There's too much money. There's too much liquidity. So they're saying, hey, I'll give you 10% in addition to this money. Like, I will pay you to take this money. Everybody wants treasuries. The Fed isn't issuing more treasuries. We're in a position, long story short, where we might have a short squeeze with treasuries. And a lot of treasuries are being lent out and borrowed. So, hey, I need some collateral to get some money. Some of the more unstable institutions need it. So we have actually treasuries that are being borrowed and borrowed and borrowed. And if we have a short squeeze, we might have a lot of insolvency among the banks, because at the end of the day, who holds the treasury? Because people are, lending it out. Kind of like just like the mortgage-backed security thing, where who held the note? Everybody was selling the mortgage notes. We have the same thing happening now. I think traditional big institutions know it. And hey, at the end of the day, it's going to make everything go down, everything, because everybody's going to be scared. And then the institutions will flood into crypto. And eventually we will have an extremely, I think, big increase.
The question is whether they're going to crypto or into Bitcoin, because Bitcoin becomes the store of value, whereas the rest become a venture capital play. Like I guess we have to break between Bitcoin, which is proving itself as a digital store of value, and the rest of the assets, which are actually just very smart technological VC plays. I don't see.
Is it though? Didn't it just have a 50% correction?
Yep.
So those people who are sitting there going like, I want to invest in Bitcoin to hedge against inflation and these sorts of things just got wrecked. So how much of a store value is that really?
That's a Michael Saylor line, to be fair.
I think we still have.
I don't listen to. I don't watch him, but yeah, I mean, it's just the proofs and the figures, right?
We're going to still have a lot of coordinated manipulation while the regulatory stuff isn't in place, and so they're able to manipulate the market legally because there's no really laws dictating otherwise right now.
Well,
it seems like you're fighting in case though to like wait for that to happen and buy like a March 2020 kind of dip, and sit on the sidelines and just watch this unfold in the short term, and not look for buying opportunities right now. If anything, it's a swing trading market, and don't take long-term positions until something like that happens.
I always just advocate for dollar cost averaging in, because at the end of the day, we have a manipulated market. We have an emotional market. We have the COVID black swan. We have lots of uncertainty. So I'm always buying. I don't really try to time the market personally.
A conspiracy theory that this market is being manipulated to get cheap Ethereum, because in the last week, more people have talked about Ethereum than in the last 3 years. Ray Dalio is talking about Ethereum. Carl Icahn just talked about Ethereum. Goldman Sachs prefers Ethereum or Bitcoin. So are we just to say, and Kevin O'Leary said that he likes DeFi. And when did the market crash, guys? Ethereum hit the all-time, not Bitcoin. Ethereum hit the all-time high. Then the market showed itself. And so, to me, this seems very coordinated, and perhaps it is to get cheaper Ethereum. I mean, all these guys are saying that they're going to buy Ethereum.
I'm not saying,
I would just come over the top on your point there, Biz, and just say like that's where the market and its emotions are disconnected from like this fundamental stuff that we talk about. So Ethereum in itself and its utility has never been more bullish in regards to its price. Obviously, we've seen what's happened in the last month or so. So there's not a correlation always between those two things.
I'm going to challenge you guys, and I'm going to say to you guys that when people talk about Ethereum, they're actually not talking about Ethereum anymore. I think that when people talk about Ethereum, they're talking about Polygon. I think that if you look at the activity on Ethereum, I think people are talking about Polygon or Matic. And the reason why I say that is because no one is building on Ethereum layer 1 anymore. People are building on Matic, on Polygon. If you're bullish about Ethereum, I think the best thing to buy right now in my mind is Matic.
I think the best thing to buy right now, if you're bullish on Ethereum, is to buy Chainlink. There is no DeFi without Chainlink.
Okay. Ilya, I see you smiling, bro.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting thought, and I think that it's a little bit romantic towards the L2 narrative. I have a huge respect for Sandeep. I really like him as a person, and I've had a good communication with him for the last several years. And the Matic team's fantastic. And I think that they're starting to really unite the two chains more and more. But Polygon is a fantastic scalable EVM chain, and is becoming more in line with an L2 solution, but we're still not quite there yet. And I'm excited to see it keep evolving, but I wouldn't go so far as to say, investing in Matic is equal to investing in Ethereum, because there's still a lot of competition. But that said, I've been a broken record about how I think Matic is really undervalued. I said they would go to top 10 when they were in like the 30s and 40s, and they made an absolute charge, and I think it's well deserved. However, I do think that it's important to understand that like the underlying ETH asset for the protocol is not equal to the underlying ETH asset for Matic. I think that that's a little bit of a not a statement I would support.
I think that Ethereum, I must say, I'm much more excited right now about Ethereum than I am excited about Bitcoin. But I think for the same reasons that Goldman Sachs cited, for the same reasons that everybody else is citing. But I think there's a lot more risk in Ethereum. What people aren't seeing is that there is a lot more risk in Ethereum. Bitcoin is doing what it's supposed to do, what it was designed to do, and it's doing it, and it's doing it pretty well. Ethereum is not doing what it was supposed to do. We are promised that it will do it through an upgrade, which is currently ongoing.
No, but that's
If
us,
there's
Rand.
risk
That's
in
us
it,
as the nerds.
so-
That's not institutions. Institutions don't care about gas fees. They don't care about that stuff. That's us. That's us, the niche community. These big time institutions. Ray Dalio doesn't even know what the hell a gas fee is, man. He just knows Ethereum is cheaper than is a lower market cap than Bitcoin. It's the second biggest market cap. Who was on your show? Raul Paul is 55% in Ethereum, right?
If there's risk in Ethereum, there's more risk in Matic, which was worth 3 cents like 6 months ago. And I haven't seen Ethereum have a Sandeep candle of death yet.
Another Matic Monday.
Yeah.
But
Ethereum had 2 candles of death in his life. 2 candles of death. It had a 75%
Well,
candle.
yeah,
2 years
to
back
an
as well.
extent. Not quite the same as Sandeep's, which happened within the space of like 30 minutes.
Yeah, George, what do you?
I think that was an unfortunate situation where they were an early coin and they had too much leverage on them on Binance, but I don't think that's their fault. But I think things have matured past that, but they are anything that's gone this parabolic, you have to be careful and be wary that things tend to pull back before they go higher.
That's why you buy Link right now instead of Matic. That's why you buy Chainlink.
Biz, hold on, George. I want to hear your view. Bitcoin, Ethereum. How excited are you about Ethereum?
I thought you were gonna say something pronoun, and then like you just turn into a polygon show.
I mean,
I honestly thought this is where you were going to go, and I believe this is true. These big guys don't so much care about Ethereum; they care about DeFi. They realize DeFi is the future. That's why they care so much about Ethereum right now. And you can make the argument that, yeah, if they're bullish on DeFi, they're going to look at other chains that also support DeFi projects such as Polygon and Binance Smart Chain or anyone else, right? I think that's what they care more about, but it's the name recognition. Just like most people have heard of Bitcoin, now most people, the second most, I think, crypto name would be Ethereum. So now they're talking about Ethereum, but what they really care about is DeFi.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And it's about I think it's important to realize that Ethereum is doing what it promised to do because it creates the application layer, even if that application layer is clunky. And then, the thing that makes Polygon special compared to BSC is it feels ETH native, and it feels like even though they're not really settling everything on ETH layer 1 yet, there's a belief in the future that things will ultimately be settled on Ethereum layer 1. And I think that is a really powerful sentiment. And I do believe that ETH will be the dominant settlement layer for smart contracts chains. And so that's where Polygon starts to become exciting in the future, but we're still like leaps and bounds away from there.
And that's part of the point. Like Matic doesn't exist without Ethereum kind of thing. Ethereum's always going to be there. It always has been there, and it will continue to be so. And people are using Matic at the moment because there are some things broken with ETH. If ETH fixes that, what's the point of Matic at that point in time?
I think there will always be a need for scaling and more scaling. I think there's a role there, even with sharding and ETH too. Personally.
Yeah, I think projects will get entrenched with Matic, and Matic will continue to have an ecosystem on Ethereum going forward. And also, I think it's important that Ethereum pivots as time goes on. You need to evolve and pivot to succeed.
Rand, your favorite celebrity invested in Polygon. It was big news. Mark Cuban. It was. Yeah, man.
It irks me when people say. They say it's like a selling point. They say, "Oh, you got to buy this because Mark Cuban invested in it."
But he pumped it, Rand. When it came out that he invested, Matic pumped. So it's good news, right? You should be happy that he invested. It's part of his portfolio now.
Yeah, but most of these people are investing in it and don't actually know what it's about. Like I bet you that if you speak to Mark Cuban himself, not his investment team, and you ask him exactly how Matic works and all the plasma chains and whatever else, he's not going to know anything about how it works or why it works. He just invested in the narrative. It's the same thing as Kevin O'Leary. I mean, I love his flip-flop. These guys, you want to tell me that this guy over here, just listen to this for 1 second.
Mr. Wonderful thinks it's worthless.
Well, I
called it garbage this
want
morning.
to explore the idea. I did say that. I want to explore the idea that there is nothing here except raw speculation. No different than when I go to Las Vegas and put my money on black or red on a roulette wheel, because where is the intrinsic value inherent in deploying real capital? Let's talk real money here, and putting it into Bitcoin as a storage of value. I get gold. For 2,000 years, including the Romans, they saw value in owning that as an asset class. Tell me why this, which is basically a digital game, that's the way I look at it, has any intrinsic value. When people actually put real money into this, they make no interest, they can't pay their taxes with it, the regulators don't like it, which is always a problem for compliance. And where's the long-term value? Just this idea that they're going to cut the number of units in half, such a scam.
Okay, how did that guy?
BTC at 8K.
Once you leave fiat into crypto,
How did that guy become? This
once
guy?
you leave fiat into crypto,
Yeah.
you don't go back.
I don't want to go back.
Okay,
Why would I? Because we've had a correction. You can't call that's a correction. We just had.
Well, I mean, look, in 2017, there was 6 over 30%, I think, right? There was 40% drawdown. So it doesn't feel good, right?
No,
when
nobody
the asset
likes it.
draws down, but it's not atypical for the kind of historical bull runs, right? Which, again, if you tell in the traditional world, hey, there's going to be 2 40% drawdowns, but you're going to go up 20x in a year, they're like, I'm out.
Well,
right?
they don't like that
I'm out
volatility.
of this.
but in this case, you end up with more coin after that correction, and then you're out loaning it out, and you're getting and with that volatility, you just got 200 basis points more yield. People don't understand vol is good for yield. It's not good for your stomach, but it actually helps you mine yield from your crypto.
How did that guy become that guy?
That's called FOMO.
That's the thing is that's fake. You guys got to realize that was all ruse. He bought Bitcoin I mean, look at the video he produced in 2013, being a Bitcoin bull. That was just all fake. And then he recently admitted that he lied all along, that he did buy Bitcoin, but he was afraid to talk about it because he thought it would get negative press or something. So he didn't do a 180. It was just a fake out.
Yeah, actually, my most watched video I put out in 2018 or early 2019, saying essentially Mark Cuban and Mr. Wonderful are completely lying about their crypto holdings. And I played clips where they contradict themselves. And I said they're absolutely going to come out and be bullish in the future. You just watch. And that's why I'm just laughing this whole time because it's actually my most watched video ever. You guys can go watch it right now. And yeah, it's good to see. And to me, I also would credit DeFi with giving them a product that they can now wrap their heads around and say, oh, I'm so much cash and my life is dedicated to earning yield on that. But I can get 10, 20% with my eyes closed here. They've never seen anything like it. And so I think there is a sea change with DeFi with the financial players as well.
Okay. All right, let's shift the conversation because, the audience here are all degens. We have a very, very, very degen audience. We actually even managed to get Raoul Paul on our show yesterday, as Biz said, to admit that he bought Doge. I mean, it was a great, great, great conversation. And then at some point, he admitted that he owns Doge. And then the whole conversation actually fell apart. Listen to this. Are you saying, am I hearing you right here? Are you saying that you would consider investing in Doge?
I own Doge.
You own Doge?
Yeah.
Good. Raoul Paul just said on Crypto Banter that he owns Doge. That was him yesterday. So we spoke to him yesterday. We spoke to him about his altcoin bags. We were quite surprised. I mean, he's got quite a bag of altcoins. He's become a total degen, just like everybody else that gets into crypto. So let's shift the conversation. We all said that we're looking at certain altcoins, or certainly Elio said that he's looking at certain altcoins at certain prices. Elio, what would be your trigger to start buying those altcoins? And I must say, I agree with Tiki. Tato says, why so few likes? There's 17,000 people in the chat. I don't know how many likes there are, but there are definitely a few likes. So guys, smash that like button. Let's get this content out there. It's the only way we're ever going to catch up to Elio's number of subscribers. It's the only way. We know we're never going to catch up to George, but we should try to catch up to Elio.
Well, I was going to give away double the banter bags, but if you catch me, then I guess I won't do it, guys. So you guys, I don't know. It's whatever's in your best interest. Make the right choice.
Listen, if you do a banter bags, I'm going to unsubscribe and resubscribe to your channel just so I can get an entry.
Yeah, so I guess the trigger right now is I believe that the downside risk of another nuke, it would be outweighing the upside risk, the upside benefit of getting in right now between where we are and where we'd see confirmation to the upside. I think confirmation to the upside comes around 42, and we'd probably rocket from there, rip up towards 50. And in that kind of a phase, I think we might have seen the worst of the correction. Right now, there's a real risk we could go down below 30 and sweep those lows again. And that would be the make or break, right? Is if we go and we sweep those super lows again, if we don't get a real big bounce, I think I'm middle bottom George. I think I've decided. I'm center bottom George. Yeah, that's the one. Yep. Skeptical, but lots of emotion. Anyway, and so that's what I'm looking for is if we hit 42 and bounce really hard, then there's probably going to be a lot of alts that don't quite catch that bounce yet, and they'll be lagging behind the market. Stuff that I'm already a believer in, and I've talked about on my show a lot, and those will be the types of coins that I'll be looking to get into.
You know what I'm worried about? I'm worried about there's a theory that says that if everybody is sitting on the sidelines with cash, ready to buy the dip will never come. The dip will come when everybody doesn't have cash anymore, because that's when the liquidity dries up. Now, everyone that I speak to, including the 5 of you, I guarantee on this channel, have all got cash on the side, ready to buy the dip. I don't think we're at a point now where people are going, we don't want to buy the dip. We don't have any more cash. Everybody has cash reserves. How can we ever get a dip?
The dip always comes. That's how markets work.
So you guys tell me.
You think your cash reserves are going to make or break the dip, Ren?
I think mine plus yours. If 90% of it's yours and 10% of it's mine, we could jump this whole. No, but I mean, it just feels like everybody is waiting for the market to do something before they buy. No one's saying I've run out of cash. No one's saying I'm all out. I'm all in. There's nothing more I can do.
I'm actually happy to hear that, man. Sounds like the market's got a bit more responsible or pragmatic over time.
Casey?
I think one thing we should stay mindful of are big institutions, big money. They do have options to do OTC, over-the-counter stuff. And so they're able to actually get in without moving the market. They can slowly, they have the algorithms that they can get in heavily into any crypto, most cryptos, without moving the market. But they can also do coordinated manipulation where when they want to move the market, they can do it. They have enough money. So you also have to, consider that as well.
Did you guys
I think the thing with institutions, we're always so happy to hear about institutions buying. There's going to be moments where institutions come and they sell, and that's the thing that I don't think we've seen yet with this dip, where like a lot of these institutional buyers that came over in this last little cycle or whatever, still sitting in okay positions. If they start to get really weak and we see under 30K or mid 20s or something, like they're going to start getting some pretty shaky hands. They've got responsibilities to their boards and those sorts of things, where they can't sit there and post on Twitter about how they've got diamond hands and, holding's the best strategy and whatever. And, when that happens, we'll see like a leverage style cascading effect that we did in this last movement, where institutions will get out and that will have some real impact.
What I was thinking about the institutions this week is Carl Icahn came on and he said, I'm going to buy Bitcoin or crypto. But the first rule in institutional investment is not to tell people what you're about to buy, because they're going to front run you. And this is a guy that's been around the block for a long time. I mean, can we make the assumption that they have already bought? I mean,
of course.
There's no way that Carl Icahn came on. Just hold on a second. Let's actually, if the interview's here, just listen to this for 1 second.
Yeah, I'm looking at the whole business. I'm not looking at what to buy necessarily at this time. I'm just looking at the whole business and how I might get involved in it with Icahn Enterprises in a relatively big way, because I do think it's here to stay in one form or another. I think
relatively big way. What does relatively big way mean, Carl?
Well, a big way for us would not be to buy a few coins or something. You know, I'm not going to buy a few coins. I don't believe in trading the market if I can help it. You know, I've learned.
Okay, so I mean, surely he is already in the market.
Sounds like he's going to start his own scam IDO.
But I mean, these are traditional investors. They know very well that you only talk about your investment after you've bought it. You never talk about your investment before you've bought it. Or I mean, surely, these guys are already in the market.
Fail before
Well, the same
shill.
rule applies for selling, doesn't it? You're not going to tell people that you're going to go and sell.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Here's my thoughts. I think you're 100% correct. I think he's already in the market, but I take the opposite view of what you said. I'm more afraid that retail investors holding cash are not buying back in, and then because of that, not that we're not going to see a dip, because then I'm thinking we're not seeing a significant rise back up because people are just waiting for the next big dip and the next big dip and the next big dip, and it doesn't come. And then, you know what, we're also not seeing that recovery either. So I believe in what Casey has said about manipulation. I think that's pretty obvious, but the way to break out of that is to basically for the retail investors to not fall for the manipulation, not fall for the media FUD, and continue the course. And that's how Bitcoin has survived all these years. There's been a lot of manipulation, a lot of FUD. Yeah, Bitcoin survived and kept going because you have a group of people that really believe in it and keeps buying it and keeps holding it. And that's it. And we need to do the same thing and we'll get past it. But if there's too much fear out and everyone keeps thinking the next doomsday drop is going to come, then no one's going to be buying back in. No one's going to be holding. Everyone's just going to be panic selling all the time.
But we have new 2021 investors that are in therapy right now, right? So if you got in the market, if you got in the market in April, God bless you, man. You just got to hold. And so I don't know the percentage breakdowns. I know I'm getting a lot of new followers who just started crypto. These people think they know where the market's going to go. I think there's a lot of PTSD from the 2017 people. I'm seeing it from the 2021 people. I think overall, people are extremely, extremely scared. I think people are preserving their capital. We had two, monster dumps within a few days of each other. If you guys remember the first time we dumped, we shot back up quickly. The second time, it took us a while. If like Elio says, if we get nuked again, listen, as bullish as I am, where's the money going to come from? Unless you rebalance your portfolio. And if that happened, I'm hoping people are in Bitcoin and Ethereum, because I think everything is going to get wrecked. Personally, if we went below 30,000, psychologically, I think to many people, they would think this is it. This is the bear run. Their bear market is here. A lot of people would be scared to buy the dip because they would say, "Oh my God, the third time in how many weeks has this been happening? This is life now."
That would be fear. I think we're just cautious at this point in time. I don't think we're fearful at this point.
I think you're all negative, and I think because you're all negative, I think it might be time to start buying this market. You guys are, I'm feeling very sad.
I'm positive, Rand. I just don't want people to be homeless.
I'm positive. I think an essential thing to be mindful of and remember that Bitcoin was born out of an extremely big global financial crisis, and it hasn't been able to prove itself yet. It will. I think we will have a crisis. I'm not sure how big, but it was built to do this, and we haven't experienced it yet. Where are people going to put their money? We have massive inflation. We have lots of dollar printing. The yuan, sure, it's gaining some, popularity, but at the end of the day, China does have a lot of restrictions. Communism, all that stuff. It's not gonna. I don't think it's going to go over the dollar, but the dollar is. Everybody's trepidation is about the dollar right now.
30% of all U.S. dollars in circulation, guys, were created within the last year. Think about that. 30%. I saw that somebody announced that stat. It's ridiculous.
And I'd still take a 30% inflated dollar right now on a 50% drawdown on ETH or BTC, though.
You're playing with similar figures, right? It's actually, to be honest, looking at the rhetoric coming out of the U.S. government on spending, it's pretty crazy. There is about $12 trillion in new spending proposed, which obviously just going to be printed. And so, that's pretty astronomical. That's 6 plus in addition to another 6 that's been proposed over different stimulus and recovery plans. So it's just it's pretty mind boggling. The numbers are just monopoly money at this point. I think that referring to the money, right, and especially Raoul Paul's view of these actual institutions who are saying, hey, we're coming soon, we haven't figured it out yet. They're not lying to Raoul, right? They might be lying on CNBC, but they're not lying to Raoul Paul properly. And I do believe there's a lot of people who have still yet to dip their toe into Bitcoin, and those types of buyers do not buy a 300% pump because they're not, they know better, right? And as soon as you got January 2021, Bitcoin's been hard to buy for a lot of institutional players because it's just too expensive and it's just gone too high too fast. And so, I think everything after Elon and his tweets was an unstable market that was built on FOMO and was built on retail just coming in and buying everything without really any plan or preparation. Anything around 30s or below is institutional territory. And so we'll see right now when we dip down to those lows who fills. And I do believe that there's, if I were to say, I'd say I'm much more leaning towards big institutional fills coming in. The cycle feels incomplete to me. I've said it many times. And so I believe, as scary as it is, I think we have a chance here to go down, fill some bids, and then work our way up on a little bit sturdier ground if we do sweep down into the low 30s, high 20s. That's the make or break territory, but I do think there's a high likelihood we get filled up there by some big institutions.
Well, this is what the data is showing. The data here is showing exactly what you're saying. The data is showing that the whales, the accounts with 100 to 1,000 BTC keep increasing every single day. I mean, here it is. This is the data. You can't argue with data. As the markets have gone down, the whales have been selling and selling and selling. Buying and buying and buying and buying and buying, which exactly supports your thesis.
Yeah. And beyond that, if you remember in 2018, everyone here is like, I'm not going to buy this dip. Nobody was saying that in 2018. Everyone was YOLOing into every dip for months and months and months. It went all the way into like September before people were like, okay, it's not pumping, and but there was just so much optimism because there wasn't that PTSD. I think that PTSD is where I do think going back to the sentiment analysis, we have not reached euphoria. We didn't, because that's when you reach euphoria, you think you're indestructible as a market. No one got there, even throughout February and March. I mean, Wolf, my conversations with you and Biz, I know people were thinking, yeah, we're bullish, but it's a little rocky right now. I don't know. I don't think it was euphoria yet, personally. Dogcoin mania doesn't equal euphoria to me. And I think that there's still more upside before we actually reach that level of just raw belief in the market. You see how fearful people are right now. I don't think you get this fearful after true euphoria this quickly.
And by the way, Bitcoin's all-time high was March 12th. So it's going to be to a point where most people who bought Bitcoin are probably going to be in a loss. Think about that. And so, I will say,
sorry,
yeah.
Bill.
No, go ahead, Wolf.
I was just going to say with the stimulus thing, I think that there is a compelling sort of thing for crypto there, but I think that's a short-term bullish, long-term bearish sort of scenario. And this is where there's a certain aspect where crypto will come into play, but hedging across the board is more important, I think. And if you have made gains in this market and you are looking to protect capital, which is what you should be doing at times like this, not being all in on crypto is a good thing to do.
Okay. Casey, you sound like you're predicting or wishing for a global financial system collapse. I don't know. I just get that feeling that you're seeing it coming, you want it to come, you want that nail in the coffin, and then you want to move on to the next chapter of the book, which is what happens after the US dollar. I mean, is that what I'm...
I don't really want that to happen, but I think it has to happen, kind of like, Phoenix coming out of the, fire and the carnage. Whenever I look at the macros, micro, when you look at economics, geopolitical stuff, the pandemic, everything's extremely unstable. And at the end of the day, finance and economics, it's more of an art than a science. We haven't proven a lot of how traditional markets work. We haven't proven that treasuries and debt and all this stuff actually stands the test of time. We don't even have centuries on this type of, thing. So I don't want it to happen, but I think it's
inevitable. Yeah. I've been preaching on this show for the last little while, man. Like, these debts need to be repaid at some point in time. And that's the point when it comes to crypto is that if you have an overall market correction, that's the lesson from March 2020. Crypto will go with everything. So that's the time you want to be sitting on some cash and buying in and making like real money, as opposed to swing trading these little bounces or whatever.
We've got about 15 minutes left. Can we please do 15 minutes of degen? Can we just, we've 45 minutes, I've heard.
Rand needs some bullish shilling.
45 minutes, I've used my tissues here to wipe away the tears. But I have 15
my PR just texted me. I'll be back in 15.
Can we have 15 minutes of degen? Is anybody actually buying anything? Okay, is anybody here, like, does anyone have an altcoin shopping list? Like, I have an altcoin shopping list. I made a price. My price got fucked up. I mean, my prices got decimated. But that was the first time I bought in, and then there's a second time I'm buying in, and the third time I'm buying in. I mean, everyone knows this. It's been on my Instagram. It's been on. This is what I was buying. I bought it much cheaper because everything just collapsed to much cheaper. But do you guys have shopping lists? Elia, I want to know what's basically, guys. Hold on. Let me help everybody. Hold on a second. All right, here we go. Hold on. Okay, Elia, what's your shopping list, bro?
Yeah, I mean, hey, look, like I love me some low caps. I know that they're not always in season, but I love them. I'm addicted to them. I can't stop, and my body wants to ape into them hard right now because a lot of them look like they couldn't get any worse on the chart. I know that that's true, that they can get worse. So I'm not doing it. But there's a lot of DeFi stuff. To me, DeFi is still the tip of the spear for crypto because it works and it provides a 10x advantage over real life savings. And so to me, there's some really interesting DeFi protocols. If I was to name one, Euler is something that I think is just like super sleeping on the market and never really got a pump. It's actually an Ethereum Foundation initiative that was built by sort of Ethereum core contributors, and from what I could tell was kind of asked for by Vitalik himself, is what I'm sort of have gathered. And this thing is a really brilliant infrastructure that's just hasn't gotten its time in the light. So like things like that, if the market comes back, I'd expect for something like an Euler to do really well. I don't know. And there's a lot of really interesting stuff like that where it feels like October, it feels like September, where there was a ton of stuff like Solana and Sushi and Phantom, and everything was just doom and gloom looking like on the chart and had just come down off these horrible peaks. And but those were, if you look back, I mean, everything is like gone 10, 20, 30x from there. And so, my feeling is that if we make a recovery here, I do feel like we're more likely to recover than to go down. That's just my gut. Again, you can't prove these things empirically, but that's what I feel is if we recover some of these really awesome core DeFi protocols, are going to do super well. And I just there's a lot of them I want to buy up right now. I'm just waiting for a little more confirmation. Because you can, like Wolf said, you can buy in after we get the confirmation with a lot less risk, less reward, but way less risk.
All right, cool. Winston, what's on your shopping list other than US dollars? Aussie dollars.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, to be honest, I'm not buying right now. But if I was looking to buy things, I'd be buying majors. I think what we see with this sort of stuff is that we go through cycles, right? So we'll get recoveries on the top two, then the majors will follow. Then the small caps will follow after that. So the shorter term trade is buying majors, less risk. So all the stuff that we talk about on the show, like, the dots, the links that Biz goes on with, the Lunas like you do, the adders, those sorts of strong majors with good fundamental stuff coming up, which will, help them tread water, I guess, in the short term. Reduce your downside risk if we do get a correction, and they'll pop back quicker if things do get wrecked. So that'd be the things that I'm looking at.
Can I throw a question out there? Everyone's focused on DeFi, and everyone was focused on NFTs. No one is focusing on the Web3 narrative. Like, I kind of feel, crypto moves in waves. And right now, it was NFTs. NFTs are kind of out of favor. Right now, everyone knows they're going to work, but they're kind of out of favor. They're in a mini correction or a mini depression or whatever you want to call it. DeFi has been in this perpetual summer since I think September last year. maybe with a little bit of seasonal stuff. It's been a long time since I've heard anyone talk about Web3. It's been a long time since I've heard of decentralized file storage, decentralized computing power, all the rails for the actual Web3. What am I missing here? I mean,
it's not sexy.
None of it works. Yeah, none of it works. Sorry.
And it's not sexy. It's not fun.
Well, it's super early, and I think that's the difference. Is DeFi works right now, and I do think that a lot of the Web3 stuff, like I wouldn't go so far as to say it doesn't work, but it's not actually optimized for consumer use case yet. And so I think that that's where you're really betting on. It's kind of like the AI plays, and like we all got into an AI play in 2017, I think. And it's just it was just too early, right? And even if these are some of the most legit AI companies, it's just like too early for these decentralized AI, compute networks. And I think Web3 is obviously the biggest innovation, right? It's bigger than all these other things even combined, in my opinion. But it's just so early that it's hard to see it get. It's not just there's just no traction yet.
George, what's on the shopping list, bro? Actually, Casey, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say that I'm also, getting into DeFi because this is what's going to replace the institutions, and they see that. That's why they're so keen on it. These are their competitors. And so, that's why I think DeFi is going to have a big wave up first. And I think later on, we'll eventually, once technology kind of gets there, I think gaming will be huge. But I think we're kind of a little bit far out for that. But that's going to be a huge one. So right now, I'm DeFi for the next year.
George is buying. Let me tell you what George is buying. Before George says it, he's buying Theta, he's buying VeChain, he's buying BSC, BNB, which is BSC. George, am I a good student? I mean, I watch your show every day. This is what I'm picking up.
You got it completely wrong. I'm buying Doge, Shiba, SafeMoon, Bonfire, Akita, and
XRP.
Those are the ones I'm buying.
Just don't buy you.
Real quick, just want to make a point. If you look at 2013, 2017, even though the dollar amounts were much smaller, the environment's different. The Bitcoin and the altcoins, even though altcoins is really not like the same as today, but you saw a pump basically to like March, April, May timeframe, like right now. Then you saw like big stagnant or downward movement. Like in 2013, there was like an 80% drop. 2017, there was 40% drops. And then Bitcoin kind of went sideways until October, November timeframe. Then it started pumping up. So I just want to throw that out there that we could see something similar where right now we could see like some sideways movement and then everything come back up in a big way towards the latter half of this year. But in terms of buying, I'm just sticking with the big caps, the ones that people gravitate to, right? Like the big caps, even though they're not as fast moving as the small caps, but people rely on them. And during certain downtrends, they actually hold better than even Bitcoin. Sometimes I think people always gravitate to like the next 100 or 1000x coin when something right in front of you that can still make a good 5 to 10x, and there's nothing wrong with that at all, right? So I'm gravitating towards all the big names, the big caps, and you mentioned a lot of them, Ran. Even Ethereum, Cardano. I finally bought some Cardano, so I'm in Cardano now too. Chainlink, Binance Smart Chain, Theta, VeChain, Solana, all these big boys, and Polygon too.
Okay.
Yeah, the L1s are safe bets for sure.
I think I agree with you. I would add to that. I've got Luna on my list. I've got Arweave on my list. And then one which I've been buying up quite aggressively is Rune, Thorchain. I think having seen the functionality and the function that Rune fulfills in terms of cross-chain, completely decentralized cross-chain transactions, I think that it is. And understanding the tokenomics of Rune, for me, that is like, I used the opportunity between $6.70 and $10 to just buy as much as I could. Literally, I bought as much as I could.
I would just point out with that too, like part of the theory with that is that those coins have been around for a long time, and we've seen them go through a few cycles and they have recovered. Like a lot of the alts from this current cycle, whatever you want to call it, some of them just won't ever recover. they'll just be dead projects. So that's where the risk comes with some of those as well.
Agree.
When was your first call on Rune, Mr. Biz?
1 cent.
1 cent. It's legendary.
I bought it right after they burned half the supply in like October, November of 2019.
You said you bought 10. You said you bought 10 grand, or had you held 10 grand, or we had a show where you actually spoke about that, right?
I did. I can't disclose how much I have left. I will not disclose how much I sold. Listen, I'm not an idiot. Close to 100x, 50, 60x. I started selling that. I funded my entire enterprise based off of Rune. But I'm still holding a good amount. And I've been buying on the way up. Now, did I buy at $6? No, I didn't buy at $6 because I was loading up on Link.
I want to show you what George spoke about. So here's the chart that George spoke about. I think specifically George spoke about this area of the chart over here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where Bitcoin was at a peak, 12th of June, and it carried on dipping until it only really reached that same price again on the 20th of July. And then it retested it again on the 6th of August, and that's when we broke up. So I would say that there were 2 months of nothingness, 2 months of sideways.
Yeah, even the pump afterwards, yeah, it did make a new high, but look at it. It still came back down, and overall, if you look at it, it's still a couple months from that first peak to a new high. So
it's exactly 2 months. It's the 12th of June to the 6th of August. So 2 months.
And you have a wick there in May, or right before June. You have that red wick there that actually comes pretty close to that high. And so that sort of beginning of that peak started, I think, back in May. But I don't know. I think it's hard to compare. History rhymes, but it doesn't repeat. And I think we everything is new. 2017 was different than 2013, and this will be different than 2017 or 2013. But I think the main thing is just to see what happens here. This range in between 30 and 40 is fine. It's just about understanding what happens when we resolve this. And, some of the more hardcore TA guys that I like are saying this could take a few months to consolidate. And so I think like what people are really bad at in crypto is patience. But I think that's what you need right now more than anything.
All right, Biz, your shopping list, and then we got to call it a day because otherwise.
So real quick, I mean, again, I've been for last few months for a good part of the year. Ethereum, Polkadot, Chainlink, Kusama. Those are the ones I ride with. Those are the ones that recover. I mean, Link did a 2x from its bottom because of Arbitrum, which is also a layer 2 scaling solution. But going to what Elio said with DeFi, if this bull run continues, the DeFi is down 80-90%. I think DeFi is going to give you more returns than anything else, just because of the market caps, just because of the tokenomics, just because DeFi is, on Bloomberg, they've been talking about it. We mentioned all the hedge funds and the celebrities talking about DeFi. And so like, I'm not going to be buying Aave and Sushi. There are some other lower caps that I think because they're lower caps, because they're DeFi, are going to get every demographic. They're going to get whales, and they're going to get people who want to degen. And I think DeFi is that common ground that'll make everybody happy. I think I've mentioned some of the DeFi plays here. I'm not going to mention them again because I need to fill them up before I start shilling them. But DeFi 2.0 never happened yet, and if it does, just like last summer when we had the scam, scam-fi, it was mostly a lot of the scam DeFi, but the legitimate ones, I think we can see 10, 20, 30, 40, 50x, and a lot of these that are like obliterated, that have not recovered. They don't bounce at all. Nobody's talking about, I'm not going to mention the ones, Elio's mentioned some of them, but they have not recovered at all. And when people start shilling them, they're going to get sent.
All righty. Casey, did you give us a shopping list?
DeFi, I like Ava, Maker, Compound. I know they're bigger, but synthetics.
Amazing. Guys, love you all madly. See some of you next week. Who's going to Miami? If you're going to Miami, hands up if you're going to Miami. All right, I'm coming to the States. I'm gonna go to Miami. I'll see you in Miami, Casey. George, I will fly and meet you. Elio, I'll fly and meet you. Biz, I'll fly and meet you. Winston, I'm not gonna fly and meet you. Guys, love you madly. See you guys. Some of you next week, and some of you will see whenever
Thank
we
you
see.
guys.
Thanks, man.
Love you guys.
Peace, guys.
Bye.
Alrighty, and thank you guys to the best community in the whole wide world. It's been another amazing Friday. I will see you next week. Now remember, Monday I'm not around, But Sheldon will be doing 2 shows on Monday. I will see you guys again next week from Miami. We're going to bring you live coverage of the biggest Bitcoin conference in the world. 12,000 people. 12,000 tickets have been sold to this conference. So I'll see you again next week from Miami. Until then, trade well, my friends.
Crypto Banter is a social podcast for entertainment purposes only. All opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers should not be construed as financial advice. Views expressed by guests and hosts do not reflect the views of the station. Listeners are encouraged to do their own research.